Hi folks, this is Mark Major here, and we are at the Action Figuratorium. As some of you have figured out by now, I'm a real big collector of toys, and one of the toy lines that I especially love to dig into is JoyToy 1/18 scale figures. Now JoyToy, some of you may have recognized the name, is the company that does 1/18 scale Warhammer 40K action figures, and of course you've seen them and you know they look fantastic. But that is not all. They make a variety of other different figures and different lines, and some of the figures that they make that I personally collect are World War II action figures. Now, JoyToy makes some German soldiers in the generic sort of field gray. They also make figures in autumn camouflage. They make them in summer camouflage. They have them in mountaineer gear. They also do Soviet troops, Soviet officer. They do American GIs. They've got American paratroopers, and they all have really amazing articulation and sculpts and deco for that scale. Each guy comes with an individual head, that kind of thing, right? But there's some other companies out there that also do 1/18 scale World War II figures. And of course, if you're doing World War II stuff, you can never have enough guys. You just need more and more and more. It's a thing made entirely of troop building, right? So another great company to mine for figures in this scale is Ultimate Soldier. Now, I've done a video before where I talk about what is Ultimate Soldier, and it's a sort of competitor to G.I. Joe in the 1/6 scale. That is the 12-inch figures. I'm a big fan of the 1/6 World War II figures. I especially like some of the G.I. Joes. I especially like the Ultimate Soldiers, and I especially like Dragon models, like all three of those guys, right? But Ultimate Soldier also does 1/18 scale, which in theory would compete against the little G.I. Joes. But the little G.I. Joes are like modern kind of fantasy warfare, and you know, the Ultimate Soldier is definitely World War II, right? And can't say enough good things about the Ultimate Soldier stuff. Those figures are great as well. They've got great sculpts. They've got pretty decent articulation. I know that some of the earlier ones were much more kind of model kit based, where they're sort of had arms frozen like this or knees frozen kneeling. But they've got a whole generation of figures that are, you know, fully articulated past that, right? Well, I have discovered yet another source of World War II 1/18 scale action figures, and these are from Hiya Toys. Now, some of you have seen Hiya Toys creeping in slowly over the last few years. You may have seen that they do some G.I. Joe guys. You may have seen that they do like some Alien, you know, the movie Alien guys in the cool classic sort of space suits, that sort of thing. Kind of a competitor to the ones that Super 7 make in their reaction line. Well, Hiya Toys has some army figures they make in a series called OurWar, which I don't really know what that means in terms of their branding. I don't know whose war they're thinking it is. It's actually kind of nobody's war at this point. But in the OurWar line, they have got some modern, you know, U.S. Desert Storm looking dudes, but then they also have some World War II German soldiers. And of course, I had to get some to go with my army building. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the Hiya Toys German soldiers, and I'm going to compare them to the ones JoyToy makes. And it should be kind of an exciting sort of mashup to see where these two go. So why don't you guys stick around? So before I go over to the bench and we start opening boxes and looking at these guys and, you know, putting them under the microscope, it should be noted that the JoyToy German soldiers that you can get that are comparable to these Hiya Toys ones, you have to buy them in a 5-pack. They come in a box. And the box is $100, or at least that's what I paid for it. That breaks down to about $20 a figure. Now, the Hiya Toys ones are individually carded, okay? But they make 6 different ones. So they've got a Rifleman A, a Rifleman B, a submachine gunner, a machine gunner assistant, and then an officer, right? But you can buy these guys individually. So if you want to just load up on officers, if you want to just load up on machine gunners, whatever you want, as long as they have them in stock, right? And so what I did is I decided that I would buy one of each so we could take a look at them. And in reviewing them, if I find that there's something particularly cool, right, about them and I want more, I can always go back and get more. So let's switch over to my overhead cam. I'm going to adjust this so you will be able to see me in the frame there, folks. Okay. These are our packs of dudes here, and I've taken a couple out because I just absolutely had to check them out. Okay, so let's talk a little bit how these things are packaged and arrive. This is the package from JoyToy, which I received about a little over 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. I think I got them just at the end of 2022. I'm not sure exactly what year these were issued. Believe it or not, these Hiya Toys came out in 2013. These are 10 years old. You can still buy them. You can still buy them on their site. Like I mentioned, it's $100 for these 5 guys. It's $10 each for these. So if you were to get the 6-pack of them, you're looking at $60. If you just wanted 5 of them, $50. So it's about half the price. Now we have to keep that in mind when we start to compare and contrast. So this guy also comes with, besides the 5 guys, they come with, the JoyToy comes with a certain amount of accessories. Here's one of the figures. You get like a pack. He comes with like a rifle, a helmet. There's also a couple of these little field caps so you can replace out some guys. Comes with like his gas mask canister, which is separate. They also come with a few grenades. There's an old World War I style machine gun. And they did use these in World War II, but they would have used them sort of way in the rear services. These would be like for guns that you would use on prisoner of war camps, things like that, military police, right? These would not be frontline. Kind of a weird thing to package in when there's so much kit that the Germans had in World War II that they could have made. So I just sort of leave that in there. But it should be noted that each one of these JoyToy figures here that I have in my hands, they all come with individual heads and faces, and they all have kind of different colored hair. So they're not all blonde-haired dudes, which you might think. And you get a nice army building but variety pack. It's kind of cool. And a few other companies finally starting to kind of catch on to this. I noticed that Star Wars Vintage Collection was doing those Stormtrooper packs. The packs of the Rebel Troopers, both the Hoth ones as well as the ones on the Tantive 4. And they have individual head sculpts, so even though they have pretty much the same bodies, etc., that kind of thing. So other people are sort of getting hip to doing these army building packs and doing them correctly. So in looking at the packaging on these guys, right, it has kind of a sort of non-destructive packaging where 2 sides of the package you can undo and then flip this up. This, of course, did finally come unglued, but you could flip it open and take the plastic package out. Each guy comes with 2 sort of potato masher grenades and 1 weapon. And if you compare some of the weapons to the JoyToy ones, you can see that with the extra increase in price, you get a better weapon. So this is the JoyToy rifle, and this is the Hiya Toys rifle, and they're both kind of similar, but this one's a little bit smaller. It's a little rubbery, right? The paint's not quite as great. It doesn't have quite a cool, you know, thing going on with it. It's not as detailed, not as good, but it does come with one, and it does look okay. Now, if we are to compare the figures, right? You'll see that they look very similar. You know, they both come with a similar amount of kit. Remember, this guy is supposed to have his pack on, so he's got one of these as well. They both sort of have the same sort of entrenching tools, the dagger, the bread bag, the canteen, the gas mask canister. They've got the same sort of belt. They've got the same sort of looking tunic. They, of course, have some different approach to the heads. The way better head sculpt and paint on the JoyToy. The Hiya Toys looks kind of weird and rubbery and stamped out. He actually looks like, if you've ever seen a photo of H.P. Lovecraft, actually looks like this. And one thing I want to point out is on the JoyToy guys, they have individual faces, and they're not all just sort of looking stoic. There's one where a guy is actually kind of as I recall, he's sort of, yeah, it's this guy is kind of, he's kind of like got a sort of a clenched jaw, and he's sort of like, you know, wincing a little bit. These guys have a very sort of stoic look, and if I pull out another one, you can see that they're sort of, that they might actually kind of be identical sculpts. It's hard to tell. They look very, very similar. So we're going to have to probably crack a few more open and take a look at some of the main differences here. What I like to do is I have an X-Acto knife that I use for cutting these open. You can see, you can just hit the flaps on the side. It allows you to get a corner out. The Hiya Toys also come with a hexagon-shaped base, which is kind of earth-colored, and it's got one peg in it. So it has their name branded on the back. That's not bad. The JoyToy ones do not come with bases, but they do have peg holes, and they will fit on these particular pegs. Look, I got this one out without destroying the package. It's not that hard. So the packaging on these guys is not terribly bad. This, this is the assistant gunner. Looks like the assistant gunner comes with the same rifle as all the other goons. He, of course, has this little looks like a doctor's bag, but of course it's for ammo. And he comes with a belt of ammo on a bandolier that he's wearing. And he actually has a beard. Okay. He looks just like the other guys, but with a beard. Now, I have to say there's kind of a difference in quality of the helmets. The helmets do not look the same. Actually, here, there's the JoyToy one. Sorry. The JoyToy one has a little bit of, they're gray, and they've got a little bit of silver on them for wear. These ones just have the emblem on them, which is kind of cool. These ones do not. But this does not look like a German helmet. It looks like a modern American Desert Storm helmet, which I realize that the United States eventually kind of copied but modernized the look of the German Stahlhelm. So there's that. Oh, look at how they package the Look at that. They package the stand in a little hex-shaped thing that the feet go in. So there's definitely a difference in quality of materials between these guys and the JoyToy. The JoyToy is a lot thinner in the arms and legs, much more spindly, right? But it feels solid overall, whereas this feels real rubbery, real bendy, almost like you could bend it in a way that it shouldn't go. It feels like it might be kind of, you know, Marvel Legends, modern day Marvel Legends-esque, where it's sort of poor quality plastic and it doesn't really stick together and move around much. Couple things of note in terms of the army building aspect of this. The JoyToy basically takes the same figure and gives you the same figure in here basically 4 times over with the same kit, same arms, same legs, same body, and the same packs and everything, but a different head. These guys, let's say you get all 6 of them, they give you essentially the same body on all of them but the officer, and the same kit, etc. But they change out who has long sleeves, who does not. So there's a guy with long sleeves, there's a guy with sleeves rolled up about halfway, and then there's one with the guys rolled up past his elbow. So that is the variety. You get a variety in sleeved or sleeveless guys. You get 2 grenades with each and a weapon, but you don't get any extra like hats or anything the way the JoyToy guys give you a couple of these, see these little field hats. And this really goes a long ways towards making your guys look unique, because you can have a couple of dudes rolling around in helmets. You can have a couple of these guys in their field caps. Some of the guys can have the packs on, some of the guys can have them without, you know, and of course you always throw your officer in there. Let's take a look at the Hiya Toys officer. I have to say overall that the Hiya Toys guys, for being only $10 a figure, they are pretty good. They're overall pretty good. I don't have any real complaints, other than if you compare them to the JoyToy just has a better paint job, right? Better paint job on these guys. And, you know, just a better looking color of gray. Look, they couldn't get the pants to match. Better looking gray on the uniforms and better looking silver paint, and just a better looking sculpt and a better looking sculpt on the heads, and slightly better looking accessories. But that's not to say that these guys suck. However, I would say that we live in an age in which you really do get what you pay for. The $20 guys are really actually about $10 better than the $10 guys, and it shows. But the $10 guys are not terrible. Their heads all have the weird goofy haircut. Look at these guys. These are all sort of like that's a mutant haircut, people. That is a mutant haircut. So I don't think that they're really terrible at all. I think that they're all pretty good and pretty usable. So what I'm basically suggesting is that if you love these World War II style action figures, you spend the money, go to the site Small Joe's, pick up the 5-pack of German Wehrmacht guys, right? And use these for like your hero shots, for your close-ups, for all the times you want to have them doing something sort of, you know, World War II military-esque. And then I would suggest that you go to Hiya Toys and you just sort of pick out a couple of these guys. Now, they all sort of look the same. There's honestly no difference between Rifleman A and Rifleman B. The difference in their face sculpts is next to nil. So you might want to like get an officer, right? Because he definitely has a different, you know, he's got the jodhpurs and he's got the hat, etc. And he comes with binoculars, which is kind of cool. So something like this is definitely worth getting. And remember, we're comparing it to one of these guys. But what I would use the Hiya Toys for is obviously for extras in the background. If you just want a whole bunch of troops somewhere, but they're going to be just, you know, the more guys you shoehorn into a shot, the you know, the sort of less emphasis there is on them specifically, so you can have a whole group of these guys. I would use these as your background extras. I would use these guys as people who guard doors and just hang out doing camp stuff, or are dudes marching, that kind of thing. But I'm also going to suggest that if you needed to take some figures and you wanted to convert them to some different branches or some different theaters, for example, if you wanted some desert guys, some German desert troops, you know, in like the sort of sandy brown, that kind of thing. These are guys you could customize and paint, no problem. For 10 bucks each, these are a great customizable platform. Or you can make little smocks for them so that they're wearing, you know, the camouflage, you know, the ambush camo overcoats and smocks and things like that. Or you could put them into winter wear. They could have like the winter suits where it's like the white, that sort of thing. I think these guys are going to be great if you're into customizing a few, doing a few repaints. Wouldn't be that difficult. You can make them look pretty good, as long as you could get like a lot of the equipment off them, so you can get nice clean brushes onto the tunics. I think you could turn these guys into as many of whatever you wanted. Who knows, if they looked good enough, you could maybe even resell them to people who are like a little bit low on whatever sort of division it is that they're lacking, whether it's like, you know, desert troops or winter troops or summer troops or whatever, that kind of thing. And so I think that there's definitely a bright hope for these sort of, I'm going to call them cheap for right now, these cheap Hiya Toys. You know, like I said, all the head sculpts are really kind of, they're different, but they're not different enough. They're super generic. The haircuts are all kind of the same. The bodies are essentially all kind of the same. They're a little bit cheaper plastic, cheaper rubbery plastic, cheaper accessories, etc. However, they do have the same kind of articulation as the JoyToy. They are the exact same, essentially, height as the JoyToy. They've got very similar looking gear as the JoyToy from a distance. There's a good chance, people, that the average person may not even be able to tell them apart in a photo from a distance. So I'd like to thank everybody who stuck around long enough in the video. Some of you out there are into the JoyToy World War II action figures, and you probably came here looking to see if it's worth your money to buy the Hiya Toys. Yes, if they're 10 bucks each, you can go to Hiya Toys website, buy them direct. If you go to eBay, they're going to have these up there for some insane amount of money. Don't buy them off eBay. Don't buy them. They're overpriced. You can give them 10 bucks plus whatever it costs to ship. I ordered 6. And they eventually showed up. I was like, these are never going to show up. And then you know what? They showed up. They showed up, and the box was kind of cool too. I could probably do a video on the box, but you know, we'll save that for another time. So with that, I'll catch everybody on the next one.